minute for parks. How many?
That's right, yeah, Mr. Riley.
So we only have one vacancy.
That's why I haven't brought it up. I mean, but courtesy Miss Ballance, we have one for Miss Lindblad. You don't have to consider it. It's just in the folder. Any further questions? All right. Ms. Ballance, is that satisfactory?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Mr. Pownell.
Procedural question as far as I think that the nomination application was kind of jaundiced by the way you presented it.
Well, sir, I'm telling you exactly what I was told by the parks people. And you can color it whatever you want to color it, but that's what they said. Yes, ma'am?
While I understand that many of the commissions probably feel that they would run more smoothly if everybody agreed on them, if all the members of the commissions agreed all the time, it actually might be healthy for some of the commissions to have some people that didn't agree, perhaps, or some people who had different ideas. It occurs to me that perhaps when there are commissions that are everyone on them is agreeing all the time, there may be citizens who aren't being represented, citizens who do feel a little bit differently, citizens who would at least like the chance to have someone on that commission that the other commissioners could beat up for having a different idea. So that's just my opinion and my input. Thank you for letting me share it.
You're welcome. I believe that is it under commissions.
Thank you,
Let us see here. Okay, next item would be public comments. And Ms. Deb Stroop is first on public comments. Hello, Deb.
Hi, guys. Deb Stroop, 7 Kings Highway. I just wanted to tell the public that I think you should be aware that this council does listen, does take to heart things you bring to them. They did an expedient workshop on the dog issues, which I deeply appreciated. Ken did a masterful job putting together some draft rewording for the council to review. They have activities that they're working on, and I think it's great. The other thing that was in there, which I think is really invaluable for the town, is to do something with the repeat offenders, because that's where one of our biggest problems is. That I also want to thank the citizen for putting in the vicious animal article, and I think it would also help our citizenry if the lovely county citizen put in a thing about the licensing, because I can tell you there's a lot of dogs in town that aren't licensed, and I think it behooves us all to do that as good citizens of EUREKA. And also, just happy Cinco de Mayo to everybody.
Thank you very much. Okay, Jane Grinnell. There she is. Hello, Jan.
I'm back. I'd like to thank the council for the workshop. Y'all did a great job. I really appreciate your support and you listening. I'd like to let you know that since the second Sunday in April, there has only been one dog wandering around on the Upper Historic Loop, and that was today. So our animal control officer, our police, and our mayor have done an excellent job in responding. And I just wanted to say thank you. And then I didn't intend to do this, but I've been out there watching. And I would appreciate it if the council wouldn't add things to the agenda. So we will know whether we being citizens would know whether we want to come up here and comment on what you are putting on the agenda. So if y'all take that into consideration, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Melissa Green. That gets it. It gets everybody. Yeah. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Melissa Green, 17 Bridge. I just want to reiterate.
Tear something up, fixing it. There you go.
I just want to reiterate too. Thank you everything has gone really well with the dogs. I haven't seen any dogs. I want to tell the public that these people will listen and to come, talk to these people, call these people. I also am going to say something. This is a diverse council, and we don't always agree with one another, but I like this, and I like everybody's ideas. And like I said, come down, because people are going to listen, and they've been just wonderful, all you guys at the workshop, everything. You know, we can work together, and we can really make this town good. All you got to do is come and talk, because I think these people are willing to listen to you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Jim Morris? Hello, Jim.
Good evening. My name is Jim Morris. I live in the financial district of Eureka Springs on Wall Street. Thank you, Council. I'm listening out there, and I think we got a good council this year that's really going to get in and get some things done. I came to address the second item on your agenda, which has been postponed. As Beverly mentioned, one other thing I want to say that Beverly didn't tell you, since she's the newest member on the Planning Commission, she was elected as chairman. That's punishment that goes along with that job. So since this is going to be discussed later, I just wanted to say something about the dog ordinance also. I happened to be in the veterinarian's office on the second time a pit bull attacked somebody's animal. I was in the vet's office that morning. It wasn't a real pleasant scene. So thank you for getting onto that real quick. And as to the issue on that ordinance about the pop-off valve, I think it's good that you at least talk about things here, even if it's just discussion on your agenda, so that we become aware of what's coming up again and we know what it's really about. So rather than taking all those things off your agenda, just explain what it's about. That lets the public out there be aware they might want to come and address that. But thank you for doing a very good job, and I will be back to address that issue if we don't take care of it on the Planning Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you. James Wells? James, help. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello. On Sunday, I live across from Harmon Park on Fuller and Grand on the corner there. And Sunday, the Park District's maintenance worker was out there with a weed whacker, and he was doing the trim around the park there, around the lower parking lot. And my car was parked right in front of the house, and he hit my car windows and knocked two of them out on the left side. And I spoke to Mr. Levine about it the next day, and he referred me to Mr. Featherstone. And I filed a police report, and officer came out and took the information. I went and got the report today, and the dispatcher told me I should speak to the city clerk, which I did, and she referred me to the mayor when I spoke to him and told me to come down here and just present my case and see if the city would be willing to reimburse me for my windows. Kind of hard without them. That's about all I have to say. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Appreciate it. That'll be the end of public comment. All right. Next on the agenda is unfinished business. Okay, number 1 is postponed. Number 2 is postponed. Number 3 is still open. Is that correct? That's my understanding. I'll give you an update on what Game and Fish has told me. Spoke with Mr. Dick Baxter again, who is our contact down there. He stated that if the city wants to have a bow hunt in the city limits, the council will have to set a date during that season, the posted season that they have on the books already. You will have to make sure that all the property owners that have volunteered their property, private property, are still on board to make sure that everything is done by the rules. We have since gained 16. We're up to 16 now. We haven't gained 16. 16 people that volunteered their property. We get calls every other day or daily. It'll be just like a regular bow hunt. You just set the day, one day, since that's what the ordinance calls for. It's a one-time bow hunt. And they'll have to comply with all the rules that's set forth. Yes, sir.
Will that occur during the bow hunting season?
It will have to occur during the bow hunt season. Yeah, all the rules have to comply with what they have on board now, and that's from October till, I believe, end of January or February. They said they will not sponsor any specialized courses for bow hunters. If you want to go to a regional or an area hunter safety course, then you can go do that. I'm not sure if they address bows in that, but I'm sure they would, since archery season and gun season overlap. And that's what we've been told so far. He said the one thing you really have to comply with is you must be, if you hunt within private property, you have to stay 50 yards away from the dwelling unless the private property owner gives you permission to hunt around their dwelling. He said that's the big one, due to the fact that arrow has no conscience, it has no motive, it's only going where it's pointed and pulled. Mr. DeVito?
So what I'm hearing is that the Game and Fish Commission is basically stepping away from the proficiency requirements
Yes, sir.
for bow hunting.
The question we get most of the time is why can't we have the same thing that Heber Springs, Hot Spring Village, a few other places who have had a structured urban archery hunt, is we don't have the public property within the city limits, the corporate city limits. It doesn't count for Leatherwood. They don't include that in the city for their purposes. So that's where it lies right now. Any questions, Mr. DeVito?
Not being a hunter, is there a proficiency requirement to bow hunt, or is it just anybody knows which end
You
of
can
the
go to
arrow?
Walmart today, buy you a bow and arrow, and come out and, when season starts and start slinging arrows like Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Fowl.
Since we were given this 2010 and 11 urban archery deer season orientation reservation form, are below the dotted lines, is that going to be what they're required to do, or are we just...
No, sir.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with the bow hunt here.
Okay.
This is a structured hunt by Game and Fish, which they say they will not do here. I know that's not what some people wanted to hear, but that's what I was told, and that's what I'm presenting to the council. Yes, sir.
So does that make the vote at the last election ignorable, for lack of a better word, null and void, whatever the case might be, because it was stated that it would be on public property and under the
Promulgation?
guidance or the rules or whatever of the Game and Fish
I
Commission?
think it said promulgation, I believe. Well, they have set rules and regs for hunting season, for archery season, and that's what they say these hunters will comply with. Mr. DeVito?
We were never bound to have a hunt. The citizenry gave us the option of whether or not to organize one.
That's where we're at now. Ms. Ballance?
It does say here in Section 2 of Ordinance 2127 that said bow and arrow hunt would be according to the regulations promulgated and times set by the Arkansas Game and Fish. So you're saying hunting season,
Regular
yes?
hunting season,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Within the areas proscribed by the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission.
Yes, ma'am. They have areas set in different parts of the state. But since you're inside the city limits, that's public property inside the city limits or private property. And y'all will set the date. Mr. Connell?
So since we won't be under their sponsorship, I pose a question to the city attorney that whenever this comes about, do we rescind or temporarily postpone or put in abeyance of the city ordinance that disallows bow hunting in the city?
That's already done by virtue of your ability to set the hunt. If you set a hunt for one day, you don't have to set a hunt for one day, but if you set a hunt for one day, that will set aside that regulation as part of that ordinance, setting the day. To all be part of the same document.
Any further questions? Okay, if not, we'll move on. Thank you. All right. Number 4 was postponed. Number 5 postponed. Black Bass Dam update. Mr. Kirkpatrick was supposed to be here. If he is, okay. Would you have him come in, Dan? He has an update on some structural. He's coming around. Okay, good. Hello, D. Is that going to be tall enough for you? I know you're short and everything, but
I can play short.
okay. Or we can move it up. Yeah, we have to move it
Council, I have here a couple of alternatives for just kind of my first take on some alternatives for stabilization of Black Bass Lake Dam. And if you'll pass these around, you may have to share one or two of you. That's alternative 1. This is alternative 2. And this is alternative 3. And I have a set here that the mayor and I can look at.
Okay. Just throw it down there. Best I can do for you.
Yes, sir. I mean, as we discussed the last time I was here, the costs are going to be not inexpensive, no matter what we do. Everybody have one? Okay.
Any extra just pass that.
If you'll look at alternative 1, that's basically alternative 1 is basically a large wedge of rock riprap. Adds mass to the dam. It will drain freely behind it in the event that we don't stop the seepage from the dam, or at least any seepage that we do get will drain freely through that. It has, at the toe, it has an anchor key. Basically, it's just where we want the wedge to stop. We don't want any movement, any slide to move out. And as you can tell, that's it's not going to be pretty. It would, if you've been to the dam recently, the work that was done to repair the scour area at the groin of the dam, right by the spillway, that's similar to what it would look like. So it's large rock, probably 6-inch to 20-inch, widely varied. If this were done, I would request that the contractor try to use a larger rock for the face, the exposed face, but everything inside can be pretty widely graded. I show 2 options here for the toe anchor, and one is using just the rock itself, towed down about 4 feet into the dam, or into the natural ground below the dam, and then another one with a couple of limestone blocks that are pinned together, and they act as a toe there. So you can tell that the sections are going to be the same for each alternative. This alternative is in the neighborhood, and I've added a 25 to 30% contingency to this, to some estimates, because we don't know what we're going to find. And we don't know what the cost of diesel is going to be. The fuel cost is what is really going to drive a lot of this. The material, we do have local quarries to get this material. But this cost, we're looking in probably in the order of magnitude of $175,000 to $200,000. Now, don't hold, this is completely conceptual, so don't hold me to those numbers unless we get some sort of design for this. But that gives you an idea where we're headed on that. If you'll go to alternative number 2, It uses large limestone block that is pinned together, stepped up, as close to the original existing face of the dam as possible. It's pinned with steel dowels. It's got a footing, an anchor block at the bottom, where the blocks are all tied in. That's reinforced concrete. And then conceptually here, this one actually wound up being a little more costly when a contractor actually came up with this cost, because we originally looked at using a concrete paste between the new block and the old block. The face of the dam is pretty uneven. It's bowed out in places. So that could be fairly expensive. So there's an option to here, either to have ribs that go up the dam, like a buttress, or actually ribs that go across the dam. So we hold this in place, but not pasted against the entire face of the dam. So this option here is probably the more expensive option, at least initially, but I think we can bring it down around about the $350,000 range. So that is. Let me rephrase that. Let's say 350 to 400. Alternative number 3. And this is kind of a step. This is going back to the historical nature of the dam to begin with. If you'll look at the dam itself, I have I estimated what the original dam looked like. It was a stepped structure there. I don't show it spillway or anything, but that's basically what the interior step structure looked like. And then we had the dam that was built in 1915, and that's the existing face we see today that's crumbling and buckling out. So what I did was I kind of came back in and said, well, let's mimic that, but let's add enough mass and increase the overall slope so this thing becomes stable. And this is rock, once again, a large limestone that's pinned together. Conceptually, what I conceive is this rock is all sitting. This is all 6-inch to 20-inch rock riprap that's in between the stepped faces and the existing face of the dam. That's just a free-draining random rock fill, that's 6-inch to 20-inch. And what I see is just having some sort of beam that we anchor these rock steps into. They'll be sitting on top of this random rock fill, which will be fairly stable. But the beam is a reinforced concrete beam that just adds some stability, and it adds an anchor point. Yes, sir?
Is that running horizontal across the face of the dam?
That is correct. And as you might suspect, the dam the valley is trapezoidal shaped. So the toe is going to be shorter. This toe is going to be shorter. And then as we step up, each step will be a little longer because we're in a trapezoidal shape in the valley. So these are just some first conceptual ideas. I wanted to present them to you. Obviously, let me say, this one is probably in the range of 300 to 350,000, somewhere around that range. So, and I wanted to present these to you just to kind of get the ball rolling so we can start thinking about what we want to do. Obviously, cost is an issue, and so alternative number 1 might be, from a cost standpoint, something that we might want to consider. If we start looking at aesthetics, alternative number 2 is going to be very nice looking, but it's going to be extremely expensive. Now, I'll just tell you, with my years of dam safety experience in building them and analyzing them, everybody is always shocked about how expensive it is to work on a dam and to modify it. And oftentimes, this is my little dam safety lecture here, oftentimes the repair many years later is many times more than the original construction. So,
Mr. DeVito?
I'm sure you've made many trips down to the dam in the last couple of weeks. I'm
I
just
have.
curious how it fared with 16 inches of rain.
you know, it did remarkably well. The spillway did real well. It appeared to me, Butch and I went down there, and it appeared to me that looking at the debris up on the banks, we might have had about 3 foot of flow through the spillway, which would have been ripping and roaring at the peak of the storm. The spillway channel functioned perfectly well. We washed out our siphons. The dam did not overtop. We had another 2 feet before it would overtop. I suspect that I've noted over time, especially with long, extended durations of rainfall, this exposed quasi-cementitious material behind the rock face, the more it gets wetted and the more it deteriorates, and we have more slippage, more movement of rock. It's somewhat imperceptible, but then oftentimes you'll see a 300-pounder sitting down there that wasn't there the last time you were there. So they're falling. The rock is continuing to fall.
Did you see any significant damage from the storm that can be laid off to FEMA? Or?
Just the face of the dam, just the mere rainfall falling on it. And it appeared to me there were probably a handful of rocks that had fallen as a result of that.
But it's going to continue just to get worse.
It's if we did a time-lapse photography on that, you'd see it just slowly buckling and sagging and crumbling and little rocks popping off over time.
Ms. Brown?
I'm pretty sure Black Bass Lake Dam is on the Register of Historical. I'm pretty sure it's on the Historical Registry. So will that make a difference on our options?
Well, let me defer that question to Mr. Berry.
I'm sure if it's inside the city limits, it's on the National Register. I'm not sure the dam is actually in the city limits.
Well, if I may address that, it depends on which map you look at.
Okay.
Right.
Some of it shows about the last 50 feet of the dam in the spillway in the county, but we were also advised that when that map was drawn, that was before we got a 10-acre deed on the front of the dam to include that most of that park area down in the front, which most of that in the front is in the county all the way halfway up Oil Springs Road. We were also told that we got another 40-acre deed on the, I think it'd be the south side, when you go across the dam or go across the bridge, come up to the lookout, and then go down in through there. There was a 40-acre block back in there where we found our missing guy a few years back. It was in the county then, but I think it's in the city now.
Well, either way, unless the city, and I don't believe, and I'm pretty sure the city has not taken any money from the state preservation program, so we've not given a facade easement to the state like we did on the auditorium or the courthouse. Therefore, just because it's on the National Register does not prevent you from doing anything. You can even, even houses, you can do whatever you want, with the exception of the HDC. That's the controlling factor. So the state would allow us to do whatever we wanted.
Okay, thanks.
I might throw in, because we've been checking this thing. I mean, the night that we had the rain started, we told y'all that we had knocked open the 6-inch drain, and it's lucky that we did until it got washed out by all the excess rain that we couldn't keep up with. Actually, we lost a 6-inch line and a 4-inch line from the top of the spillway all the way down to where the dam was. Most of that was washed into, through, and over the dam. I'm sorry, I say dam, the bridge. Our bridge didn't fare well. I mean, it washed out on both ends. It broke one of the railings completely off. They had to put gravel back in. I'm not sure what the underneath of the bridge looks like. It may be good. It may not be. I don't know, Dave.
Morris, I think it's there was some scouring that was occurring immediately downstream of the bridge. The abutments, both abutments, scoured on each side, as you indicated just now. The reason for that I could tell, and Butch, when you and I were there, was that there was a great accumulation of deadwood and driftwood that literally backed up the water, caused it to flow around each side. So that's kind of one of the things that we need to Parks or Public Works needs to maintain that and remove the wood as it collects near the spillway.
Not to put a scare factor into the same, but just to be plain blunt with you, had we not redone the spillway, there wouldn't be a dam there now. It would all be down. And actually, the water that came out over the spillway did wash out the second set of tin horns down on the access road that goes to the houses down below the dam. I think it washed it out about 8 foot deep. So they had to go in there and put all that back together before they could even get out. In fact, he was crossing the gap on his ladder to pull the debris out, a ladder that he had laid down. So just letting you know.
I agree with that. If we hadn't raised the spillway and improved it, I think the scour would have been pretty intense right there at that groin area that we also we stabilized with grout.
It's something we're going to have to strongly consider. And yes, ma'am.
Do you see a time limit, time factor that we need to be aware of to get this done, to really be looking at?
Do you mean do I have a prediction as to when the dam might fail? No, it's indeterminate. It really is. It's right now we see it failing. We see the face failing, and we see it slowly deteriorating over time. I was pretty concerned about it when I saw it about 5 years ago, and it's continued to be an issue. I've always watched it, and as have many others, and including Miss Ballance and Butch. To answer your question, no, I don't have it. I mean, I think it ought to be addressed. It just requires the political will to do that.
Any further questions, comments, Butch?
Well, it's more of a comment than a question. We're having our mid-year budget review coming up real quickly. And I think it's probably time that we probably need to put this issue on our budget somewhere so we don't forget it, and see if we can start paying attention, seeing if we can start putting some money back into reserves or somewhere to address this, no matter which option we go with here. That's obviously, we've got a range of, and we don't have that big a range. I mean, in reality, $200,000 to $400,000 from a mass to a good looking, but we need to start looking at setting aside money, I think, and I'd like to have that on our budget review.
I think we discussed, I'm sorry, at the last couple of meetings that it's either going to cost us to take it down or keep it up.
Yep.
Either way, we're obligated. Ms. Ballance? Ms. Sandra, I'm sorry.
Is this something that, as Mr. Berry says, we could initiate in the upcoming budget review by placing a line item on the budget and starting to build over the next couple of years till we can?
Can I address that?
Yes.
Your first step really is to get a plan together.
Okay.
You'll need a study to look at detailed plans and specifications.